Hi, so I'm Chris, and I am planning to try and work with the, um, I guess what you might call the anti-Trump sentiment in the country. And the hope would be to turn various areas of the country towards more populist policies, basically. And these are sometimes viewed as left wing or right wing, but I don't know that that's a useful way to look at it so much as it's just populist. It's just trying to form policies for the country based upon the interest of the majority of people. So that's pretty simple, right? Um, what's his name? Trump ran on policies that were supposed to be more populist in their orientation. Um, so what comes to mind is the no export import bank, renegotiate trade deals. What else comes to mind? He had no cuts to Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security entitlements. He had a number of things like that, which mainly benefit uh, people in general, citizens. So that element of his agenda is speculated. Maybe that's how he won the Midwestern states. I don't suppose anybody knows for sure. But anyway, he's backtracked on all that stuff. On the other side, in the primary, Bernie Sanders ran on a platform that differed in some aspects, but as far as the populist aspect of it, well, let's increase Social Security. That was one idea, or free college for people. That was another idea. Raise the taxes on the millionaires and billionaires. I mean, it's the specific policies differed, and arguably Bernie Sanders were more genuine, but the direction of those two messages was the same. So since the right wing version of that has failed, and in general the mood had already rejected the status quo, I don't see where else the policies um, can go. Like, where else can the energy go except towards the Sanders wing and the Democratic Party? Of course, there's a caveat: you have to have an institutional ability to compete, right? So people can believe all kinds of stuff, but unless either they have a way to vote in officials who represent those views, or they like take arms and have a violent revolution, which nobody's advocating for that, then those policies won't be enacted. And there's a lot of examples of that. The opinion polls say that all kinds of policies would be favored by people, which neither party is trying to advocate. For example, we don't want to. People in general want to cut the entitlement programs. They want to expand them, if anything, or they want universal health care. Well, neither party is going to implement that for various reasons. Various reasons that a lot of people speculate it's because of the money interests in the politics. Maybe it's that. It might have to do with what the mood was at the time that a lot of these elected officials at the highest level got into power. For example, there's Nancy Pelosi. When did she get into Congress? The early 90s, maybe? Something like that. The former Democratic majority leader or minority leader, Harry Reid, the same thing. The current Chuck Schumer. It was at least the 90s, I want to say. At least the 90s. So they've been around a long time, and at that time the mood was sort of New Democrats and stuff of that kind. So maybe you could say that it's something to do with that as well. But regardless of what the reason is, it doesn't really matter what the reason is, unless there is a way to translate the popular um, energy into electoral victories. Then it's not that relevant what the popular energy and sentiment is. So for that reason, I think it would be useful to try and work with whatever organizations will help progressives become elected. So in my area, which is Dallas-Fort Worth, there seems to be several groups. There's like Women's March groups that formed right after the Women's March. There is the Indivisible group. There is which the Indivisible group is like attempting to imitate Tea Party tactics, except on the left side of the spectrum, so-called. And then there is the institutional Democratic Party, of course, been around for forever. There's also what else? Democratic Socialists of America, which they're not a huge group, but they have some presence. And all of those, Indivisible at this moment seems to have the most impetus behind it. It's the most organized and has probably the most membership, and they have a clear agenda of what to do. Now, of course, there's also Bernie Sanders' Our Revolution group, which is being organized in the area, and I would love to help out with that whenever it gets its act together. But as far as the numbers, I don't know that they have it yet. And also, that's a building strategy. Versus an opposition strategy. I was viewing it as Our Revolution is like, this is how we get the people elected that want to get elected, and build a more progressive Democratic Party so that those policy goals of the more populist orientation can get implemented. Whereas Indivisible is more like, just stop Trump. So, like the Tea Party. So, yeah, point of this video is just to say I think I am trying to do what I can to support the Indivisible efforts right now. I'm trying to organize a team for the DFW area to help get some of our local candidates elected, and we will see what we can do. I was just about to meet one of them today. Go door to door, volunteer, stuff like that, school board candidate. So we'll see how all that goes.